What is this, a rhombus? I don't know if that's a rhombus. I'm gonna call it a rhombus. Hello again team, it's Jess or JashiiCorrin and welcome back for another video. As well as today's video being day 13 in my month of planning with me series, we're also going to be looking at how to do ribbon headers. We'll be starting with the most simple ones and then getting into some that are a little bit more complicated. But with practice, they are all achievable. So the first one we're going to start with is the ribbon header that we have at the top of the page. This one's probably the one you see the most often because it is the easiest to draw. The way I like to do this one is by starting with a box. The box I'm using is 2 squares down by 4 squares across. Typically speaking, this would be the box that you'd actually write your title in, so make sure that it's long enough to do that. After you have your box, what I then like to draw is 2 horizontal lines coming out of either side of the box. This is going to make the ribbon tails that you see at the top here. For the sake of neatness, I like to make sure that these are the same distance down on either side. So the lines I'm going to draw are going to be 1 square down and they're going to go 2 squares out. What I then need to draw is 2 vertical lines coming out of the bottom of the box. To make sure that the dimensions on your ribbon header actually make sense, these 2 vertical lines should come down the same amount that you put these lines down on the sides. So because my 2 horizontal lines were 1 square down from the top, these 2 vertical lines should come 1 square down as well. Then what we need is 2 more horizontal lines that come from the bottom of those vertical lines and go out to the side to the same point that these ones at the top did. In terms of how far in you place these vertical lines, it doesn't matter too much, it's going to look fine regardless of where you put it. So for instance, these ones at the top I have them in 2 spaces and down 1, whereas this one here I have across 1 space and down 1 space. Again, for the sake of being uniform, I like to do the same on either side, but how far in you put it really doesn't matter. Once you're at this part, you then want to add in that folded section here. And the way we do this is just by drawing a line from the corner of this box down to this intersection of the vertical and horizontal lines. And then we do the same on the other side, so from the corner of the box down into that intersection. To finish off the ends of your ribbon, you can really do anything you want. I personally prefer to do the little triangle cutouts. So I just find a middle point in the ribbon. For me, because it's 2 squares down, it's going to be 1 square down. Again, using the same distance in on either side, and then I just draw a line from the end of the horizontal lines to that point. You'll notice that for all the ribbons I have on this page, I have gone in with pencil first, and that is a really good idea. If you're just starting off with ribbon headers, making sure that you get your dimensions right can be kind of challenging. So using pencil first can be a really good way to make sure that your final product looks like what you want it to look like. Once you've got the basic outline of your ribbon header, you can really do any kind of decoration you want, so shading, colouring. Some people like to do dotted lines around the edges because then it kind of looks like stitching. For me, the most common decoration I'll use is these little lines on the folded under section. Just so it kind of looks like a shadow. So this is the most common ribbon header style that I use. But along with folding it so that you have the ribbon poking out the underside of the box, you can also have it so it pokes out the top side of the box. For this process, it's pretty much the same. So we start with a box. We draw horizontal lines coming out either side of that box. But instead of measuring from the top, this time we're going to measure from the bottom. So for my ones, instead of going 1 square from the top, I'm now going to go 1 square from the bottom. Of course, because I have a 2 square box, this is going to put my line in the same place. But then when we put in our next lines, they are going to be in different places. So after those horizontal lines, we then needed to put in our vertical lines. Instead of putting our vertical lines at the bottom of the box, we're now going to put them at the top. And again, you want to make sure that the length of those vertical lines is the same amount that you measured from the bottom of the box. So for me it was 1 square up, so those vertical lines will go 1 square up. And then we just draw horizontal lines coming out the ends of those vertical lines. Once you get to this part, it's all about drawing those folds in and then capping off the ends of your ribbon. So remember, to do the fold, you go from the corner of the box to that intersection of the vertical and horizontal line. And the same on the other side, so corner of the box to the intersection. To cap off the ribbon, you can use any style you want. I like triangles. And then again, any kind of decoration you want. I like to draw those lines. So you can see that for the ribbon headers we've done so far, these use straight lines, and that's really the easiest place to start. Once you've got those styles down, what you might then want to move on to is ribbons where the folds are curved rather than being so straight and uniform. For this, it's really about drawing a more angular version of the letter S. So if we see this fold in particular, this zigzag here kind of looks like a really exaggerated version of the letter S or a backward Z. So using that idea, when I draw a more organic looking ribbon, I usually start by drawing the folds out first. So we can see that this bottom edge comes along, curves back and then across, and then down and then across. So doing something like that over here, we go across, swoop up, and then across, and swoop down, and then across. Again, you can see that I started in pencil first, and I do certainly recommend doing that. If I just erase the lines I've got now though. So what I'd normally do at this point is figure out how wide I actually wanted my ribbon to be. So in this one it was 2 squares down. I want to figure out how many squares I want on this one. I'm going to use 2 squares again because it's easiest, and what I'll usually do is draw in some guiding lines. So anywhere the ribbon folds, I'm going to draw a line that goes 2 squares up. So one on either end, one on this first fold, the end fold here, and then these 2 ends as well. Now what you want to do is essentially mimic the line that we have at the bottom at the top. So starting here, going around to this point, curving up to this point, going across to this point, down to that point, and going out to the end. So I know it looks like a little bit of a mess at the moment, but not all of these lines are actually going to get drawn in. If we compare this ribbon to the one we have here, we can see that the line across the top is completely unobstructed. These lines that go down at the sides are completely unobstructed. But all of these ones that are kind of in the middle of the main box, we're not actually going to see. So from this point, I'd start by drawing the 2 lines up at the side. Notice how because they come from the bottom of this curve, they don't go all the way up to that dot. This is important to make sure that your dimensions are correct. We want a uniform vertical height throughout the ribbon, so we're going 2 squares up from wherever that point on the turn is. And because that turning point I haven't actually drawn on the dot, I don't want to go up to the next dot up here. Because these 2 parts of the ribbon are straight, I know that drawing 2 straight lines across here are going to give me that uniform 2 square up thickness. For the top of this box, because there is a slight curve at the bottom, we need to do a very slight curve at the top as well. So you can see that for these ribbon headers up here, the boxes were very sharp, very much boxes. For these ones, they do have a slight curve at those corners. And those curves all go in the same direction. So this one curves up, that one curves up, this one curves up, that one curves up. To finish this ribbon header off, we just need to draw in the vertical lines here for these turning parts, and then cap off our ribbons. These ones are trickier, they do take a little bit more practice, and I do encourage you guys to wait for your ink to dry before you try and use an eraser. When you get more comfortable with doing these ones, you won't actually need to draw in so many guiding lines to help yourself out. So similar to the last one, I've just started with a curved or kind of wiggly line. I then want to consider the thickness that I want my ribbon to be, so again I'm going to use about 2 squares down. and draw a line down at any point that the ribbon turns. This line I haven't continued down the full 2 squares because it's not actually going to be seen behind this part of the ribbon. Similar with this piece here. I haven't drawn lines down at the ends of my ribbon because again, I like to do those triangle cutouts. Now what I want to do is essentially mimic that top or first line that I drew along the bottom. But because I'm using pen, I'm not going to continue it anywhere that piece wouldn't be seen. Again, make sure that anywhere that the ribbon curves at the top, you also curve it in the same way at the bottom. And then we just cap off our ribbons. You can see on this one that this line in particular, I drew a little bit too far across to the left. This one realistically should have come from the very outside edge of that turn. Another type of ribbon header that you might have seen is one that has a scroll kind of portion, or a portion that's wrapped around itself. The way that I draw this one is pretty similar, but instead of starting with a squiggle, you start with a spiral and then a tail. Once you have your spiral with its tail, then again it's just the same as before. We try and think about what kind of thickness we want on that ribbon, and anywhere that the ribbon turns or changes direction, we draw a line coming out of that. Because my spiral is at the top of the ribbon, I'm going to be drawing my lines down. So we have one here at the edge. We have one here at this turn. Again, I've stopped it because it's not actually going to be seen behind this part of the ribbon. We have the end of the ribbon that's inside the spiral. Again, stopping it because we're not going to see it behind that part of the ribbon. And we have one here as well. Then once we've drawn all of those downwards lines, we then want to mimic the top line along the bottom. So for this line here, which I'm actually going to be drawing in down the bottom, you can see it sweeps down and then comes back up and over. And we want to do the exact same thing on the bottom. And then wherever needed, you just cap your ribbon off. Again, start with pencil, do a bunch of practice. So these ribbon headers here, we've done it so that the tails both come out the same side. So both on the underside of the main box or both on the top side of the main box. What you can also do is have one coming out the bottom and one coming out the top. And using this as an opportunity to practice more of our organic headers, we'll start with that style first. So as we've been doing with the organic style ones, we're going to start with the outer edges of the ribbon first. So I'm going to draw across, upwards in an S-like shape. At this point, that edge of the ribbon is going to be tucked behind the main box, so you should stop there. What we then want to do is draw the top line across the box that then curves around and comes out. What can be helpful at this point is to think about the thickness that you want the ribbon and draw the lines coming out of this turn and that turn there. Again, make sure that you're coming the same vertical distance out of wherever you start that line. So for me, this part starts a little bit lower than the dot, so it should finish a little lower than the dot up here. For this part, it starts a little higher than the dot, so it should finish a little higher on the dot up here. Then mimicking that line, and starting our next curve. To finish this one off, we just need to draw the two other edges, draw the folds on those ribbons, and cap the ribbons off. If you wanted to practice this one first by using the angular style ribbon, we start with the box, draw the lines coming out either side, draw in the vertical lines. So for the ribbon on the under half side, because I have this line one square down, I need to draw it one square down here. For the ribbon on this side, I have it one square up, so I need to draw one square up on this side. We draw in the other horizontal lines. We draw in the folds, so remember the fold goes from the corner of the box to that intersection, and the corner of the box to that intersection. Draw in the tails of the ribbon, and then any decoration that you want. So far, the ribbons that we've been looking at are the ones that kind of fold to make the section that you write on. But what you can also do is ribbons that seem to kind of spiral. The easiest way to start doing these ones is again with the angular style. So in pencil, I'd start by drawing however many boxes that you want that are forward facing, all stacked one on top of another, with a uniform thickness and a uniform distance apart. I've left the tail end of this box and this box open because those are going to be the ends of my ribbon. To then join these sections of ribbon together, my biggest hint would be to use a ruler. What we're going to want to do is rule a line that goes from this corner here, or the top right hand corner of this box, to the top left hand corner of the next box under it. We're also going to want to rule a line that goes from the bottom of this box to the bottom of this box. So lining up your ruler, drawing in your pencil line, and then making sure that when you come in with pen, you only draw the section of the ribbon you're actually going to see. You don't want to cut through your boxes. Once you've done it for these two, you then want to do it for these two. So just again, the same, going from the top corner on this one to the top corner on this one, the bottom corner on this one to the bottom corner on this one. And then we just cap our ribbons off and decorate it any way you want. Typically what I'd do if I was doing colored decoration is that I'd make that this side of the ribbon, or these kind of, what is this, a rhombus? I don't know if that's a rhombus. I'm gonna call it a rhombus. These rhombus shapes should be a darker color because they're further away or kind of look like they're in the shadow of the parts that are at the front. You can also make this style with more angular folds, so instead of the end of this ribbon folding around to the end of that one, it could go down to this side as well. The way that I do this one, I'm going to start by using a pencil first. So I start by drawing in my boxes. Again, because I like mine uniform, they're all the same width and they're the same distance apart. I'm going to have my ribbon start here, go across, down, over, down, and across. Which means that I'm going to have turning sections here and here. So I know I'm going to want my ribbon to come down here and here. And again, I'm going to want it to be the same thickness. So because I have 2 squares across here, I'm going to want 2 squares across here. When the ribbon turns down though, it's not going to have this corner, which looks more like a box. Instead, what we're going to need to do is draw a turn that goes from this corner of the box up to the point along this edge that's in line with this section. So for me, it's going to be right here. Similar thing's going to happen down on this side as well, is that we're going to have to cut across from this corner of the box across to where this line intersects this one. And a similar idea again on here. So from these corners across to where this line would intersect each edge. And of course, I like to cap my ribbons off with triangles. Again, if I was decorating this, I'd make it so that those 2 little rectangular pieces were a little bit darker than the parts that are supposed to be at the front. Once you've practiced with the angular styles, again, you might want to get a little bit more organic. So the way that I do this is pretty similar to what I've done previously, where I start with one edge, then draw the lines coming out of that edge, and then draw the other edge. But because, as you can see, you're going to have a lot of sections where the edge doesn't necessarily get seen, I'd always start this one with pencil. So you can see here what I've done is I've initially gone in with pencil to draw this edge along here. So it comes down and over and down and over and around. And technically speaking, if I was doing a different style of ribbon header, I could just go and draw that one straight in. But instead of having a more spiraling style of ribbon, I'd end up with something that looked like this. Because I don't want that, I do need to start in my pencil, because then I can erase my lines later. What I'm now going to do, or what I then did, was go in and draw those downwards lines. So this one, this one, this one, this one, this one, and this one. Again, making sure that they're all pretty much the same distance down. Then what I went in and did was mimicked the top line along the bottom. So this line came across and around, so my bottom line needed to come across and around, and across and around, and across and around, and across. At this point it kind of looks like a jumbled mess, and you need to make a decision as to which parts you want to have on top and which parts you want to have in the back. The way that I'm going to draw my ribbon is that any section that comes across in that direction is going to be on top. So that means this one here, and this one here. Whereas that one, and that one are going to be in the back. This one here still follows the same principle as this one though. Any point you have a turn, the underside of the ribbon continues to the bottom corner and the top side touches the top. So if we see here, that pencil line goes from this bottom side of the ribbon across to this bottom corner. And on this turn, that top corner, we have a line going across to the top side of this ribbon. Once your pen is dry, erase your pencil lines. The last type of ribbon header we're going to look at are the ones that seem to come over the top of a box. And the initial recommendation I have for this one is draw the ribbon headers in before you draw the outline for the box. To make it so that these ones actually look like they overlap the edge of the box, you want to make sure that the edge of the box doesn't cut through the ribbon. So as I've done in pencil here, let's just say that this line of dots is the edge of my box. Anywhere that I want to draw a ribbon header, I need to put a line slightly outside of that box to be the edge of the ribbon. How far out is up to you. For this bottom one, I've just kind of over-exaggerated it. These two at the top are a little bit more like the ones I typically use. To draw on the rest of the ribbon on this simple one, you just need to draw horizontal lines extending over as far as you want your ribbon header to go. And again, I'm going to cap those off with a triangle. Once you've then got your box ruled in, you'll see that it kind of looks not quite right. The way that you actually make it look so that it overlaps the box is by drawing a teeny tiny triangle down the bottom here. I usually just do it in black, but you can see that that small addition has actually made it look like it folds over. On this one down the bottom, I've done the same thing again, it's just a lot more over-exaggerated. So this overlap is a lot bigger because the edge of this comes a lot further out. This one here is pretty much the same as the one I have at the top, but I've just included an additional fold here as well. Of course, along with the ones at the sides of boxes, you can also have one at the top, and this works in the same way, except instead of having that initial line just to the left of the box border, I'm going to put it just above the box border. For this one, instead of cutting in, like I've done with pretty much every other ribbon here, I've instead made it have a little triangular tail. Again, to make that one look like it really folds over, you just need to draw that little black triangle at the side. And just to fill the space down the bottom, one final ribbon header. There are plenty of other styles of ribbon headers you can draw. My recommendations though, start in pencil, start with the simple ones, and then build your way up from there. There's plenty of inspiration online. My go-to place would probably be a Google image search, just searching something like ribbon header doodles. Hopefully you guys found that tutorial helpful, and please do let me know if there are any other tutorials you want from me. For our month of planning stuff though, although you guys did just watch the ribbon header video, it didn't actually get filmed yesterday because my next door neighbor decided she was having work done. So from essentially 9 AM till 5 PM, we had drilling and banging and all of that good stuff. Yeah. In fact, I'm pretty sure that put me in such a bad mood yesterday that none of these things got done. But I did go out for dinner with B. And technically speaking, the ribbon headers video has been done. And then today the rest of those things will get done, hopefully. Well, I mean, it damn well better. Today I'm going out for yum cha, which is what our meal out has decided to be, which is awesome. And then on top of the laundry and all the stuff I didn't get done yesterday, I'm gonna leave my to-do list at that. Because I also still want to get the rest of these things finished, and there's probably a couple of other things. Probably should do that brain dump sooner rather than later, but yes. Back to the monthly pages. So I can add in here that along with going out to dinner last night, I know what this event is now. Hasn't happened yet though, so I'm not going to check it off. Nothing to check off on here. I yet again forgot to check my steps tracker. But hey, fun news, my Fitbit broke yesterday. So now instead of a watch, I'm just carrying around this piece, which is awesome. Let's see. Yeah, it is tracking steps, but I don't know how accurate it actually is, so I'll wear it out today in my pocket. I'll see how it goes with tracking things. If it gives me a number that's completely ridiculous, like if it tells me I've done like 10,000 steps, we can pretty much write that off as not working. But then comes the question of, do I bother to get another one? Is step tracking the best metric for my overall fitness? I don't know. Something to ponder. Anyways, on to habits. So yesterday, onto social media. So, ribbon headers in the process of doing. And yesterday I ended up posting 2, just because I missed Friday's one. I should probably also note down that my full weekly and new weekly are pretty much ready to photograph. My new weekly certainly is, and then at some point today my full weekly will be. Which means I should probably put photograph pages on my checklist. Nope. And then for word yesterday, I'm going to put sushi. I picked up my dyeing pen. I really need to throw this out. Sushi is my number 1 most favorite food. I'd love to know what your favorite food is though. Meal log. And over to my PowerSheets. So yesterday, 7,000 steps did not happen. 1 liter of water did not happen. Mindful eating, oh, I just ticked off that it did, but then I totally remembered that it didn't. Oh well, we'll just... Anyways, it's fine. YouTube comments, I didn't actually end up checking. 3x3 reflection I did do though. It's okay, I'll just mindfully eat today and then tomorrow I'll put in a dot instead of a cross. At this stage, don't have any weekly items to check off, but for my monthly action items, I can say that I have made progress with my photographs folder because I couldn't film my ribbon header video yesterday, so that's what I did. In terms of the chore roster revamp, I don't think that there's really very much left to do on that, so I should probably colour in a lot more progress. Just in case there's something else I want to do with it though, I will leave a little bit of space. And in terms of decluttering the bedroom, we did make some pretty good progress on that yesterday. Just as a side note, for tomorrow's video, it is going to be coming out at a different time. Just because tomorrow's the first day back at school, which means that I can't film in the morning like I have been doing. Instead, my filming is going to be happening in the probably late afternoon, early evening. My time, that is. Which means it will be up quite a few hours later than it normally has been. Thank you for watching though, team. If you liked today's video, please do make sure to give it a big thumbs up. And if you wanted to see anything else from me, feel free to go check out one of my other videos. Until next time, bye!